So I've got a confession to make. Despite knowing how popular it was, I've never actually played Gothic. I mean, I've heard people talk about it for years. Every time somebody mentions classic RPGs, Gothic always seems to come up. So when THQ Nordic invited me to check out the Gothic 1 remake, I thought that this was the perfect opportunity to finally see what all the fuss was about. Now, because I've never played the original, I'm coming into this completely blind, which means you're going to see all the mistakes that I made, so you don't make them too. And trust me, I made a lot of mistakes. Now, the first thing that struck me was just how brutal the opening is. Most RPGs ease you into the world, and then send you on a grand adventure to save the day. But in Gothic, it's actually the complete opposite. You see, you're thrown into a prison colony surrounded by a magical barrier. Everyone here is either a criminal, a murderer, somebody who got on the wrong side of the law, or a combination of all three. That means that no one cares who you are. And in fact, they seem more interested in robbing you than helping you. Now, like I said, I had never played Gothic before, so I didn't know this. I spoke to Diego, who offered to walk me to the old camp. I ignored his offer, and that was my first mistake. As I was making my way to the camp alone, I spotted a juvenile scavenger. And with a name like that, I thought that I could handle it no problem. But, well, see for yourself. Now, this early death made me learn to love the manual save feature, which I relied on at almost every part of the game. And with my newfound respect for juvenile scavengers now firmly established, I decided to take Diego up on his offer and have him escort me to the camp. When I arrived, he informed me that to get past the guards on the gate, I would need to impress Gomez. And that's when I realised just how alive Gothic feels. You see, there are no quest markers, or really any HUD at all. You have to actually listen to the NPCs to find out where you need to go. So when Diego said that I needed to impress people around the camp, I just started walking to see what I could find. And what I found was a settlement full of people that just go about their day. Oh, and I also found Mud, who wanted to tag along. And after ignoring Diego earlier on, I wasn't going to make the same mistake twice. So with Mud in tow, I did a lap of the camp, meeting several important members of the Shadows, all of whom had a job for me to do. So far, my only problem was, Mud just wouldn't shut up. And whenever I even remotely looked in his direction, he would say things like this.
So, where are we going? Or is that a surprise? I love surprises!
Now, a couple of the quests require you to leave the relative safety of the camp and venture into the game's open world. And it's here where I've actually managed to find a couple of Easter eggs. The first discovery that I made can be located near the swamp camp, where the settlers like to indulge in a bit of smoking. And hey, I'm not one to judge, so I tried it myself and I can confirm it's some powerful stuff. Anyway, if you make your way past the super relaxed swamp dwellers and head to this location on the map, you can find this. Now, I don't know about you, but this looks an awful lot like R2-D2. And I do mean an awful lot, which means that somewhere nearby there's probably a stormtrooper who missed every shot. Anyway, I think what makes this even more of an Easter egg is something else that I found nearby. But before we get to that, I quickly realised I had another problem. I was completely useless. You see, skills in Gothic work on a student-teacher basis. I mean, don't get me wrong, you still gain experience, which will improve core stats like health when you level up, but if you want to truly get better, then you'll need to seek out someone who knows what you want to learn. For example, I wanted to break into a chest, but I didn't know how to lockpick, so I spoke to Fingers, who is an expert thief, and he taught me how, at the cost of some ore and learning points, which you'll gain when leveling up. Another settler offered to teach me how to climb, which could be really useful when hunting for hard-to-reach Easter eggs. But of course, nothing is free in Gothic, and Theron here wanted some smoke rolls, so I grabbed the rolls and he taught me how to climb. And this is where I found another Easter egg. If you go to this location on the map, you can find this. So this is a reference to Han Solo frozen in carbonite from Star Wars, and it's an Easter egg that I don't think I would have found without the help of Theron, so hats off to him. Now, as you've seen, it's definitely worth seeking out as many of these experts as possible, as you already know what happens if you don't. But that's something else that I love about Gothic, is that you don't actually have to learn anything. I mean, I ran into Theron completely accidentally. I was just going for a swim and I bumped into him on the beach. Oh, and for those of you wondering how Mud is getting on, Well, I finally snapped and said this.
Please, could you shut up for just one moment?
Sure.
Okay, so he's agreed to be quiet. Let's move.
So, Zach, where are we going? Maybe there's a nice and quiet place where we could go to talk?
Right, doing our best to ignore mud for now, let's talk about how the Gothic remake looks. You see, the original Gothic looked decent for the time, but has obviously aged. So to go from this...
Welcome to the colony.
To this...
Welcome to the colony.
Is pretty crazy to see. Obviously, nice graphics are... well, nice, but that would mean nothing if the game didn't feel alive. But Gothic feels like a living, breathing world, and one that you are just a part of, and not one that revolves around you. NPCs all have routines and habits, and that means you need to get to know them. What they like, what they don't like, who they don't like, and most importantly, what time they leave the house so that you can rob them blind. Oh, and speaking of NPCs, remember Mud? Well, Mud is no longer around, as he was mauled by some wolves and definitely wasn't killed by me after one too many interruptions. Anyway, ignore Mud. I found another Easter egg, and it might be my favourite of the lot. At this location on the map, you can find this. So this bloody tree is a reference to the weirwood trees from Game of Thrones. I mean, as far as Game of Thrones references go, I think this one is pretty cool. Right, it's time to talk about combat, because much like the dearly departed Mud, a lack of skill in this department could cost you your life. Modern RPGs have trained me to believe that I can fight everything I see, and then loot their bloody remains for no other reason than I can. Well, very quickly, I discovered that running headfirst into enemies is a great way to get beaten into the ground. The combat in Gothic requires patience, and timing really matters. You can't just smash the attack button and come out on top. You need to wait for the right opening before striking, and even then, if you're not skilled enough, you still might come unstuck. There were several occasions where I confidently walked into a fight only to realise a few seconds later that I'd made a terrible mistake. And you know what? I loved that too. I loved that I wasn't super powerful right off the bat, because when I did start to improve my abilities, it made each kill feel that much sweeter.
Hey, could it be that you're just running in circles? I mean, I don't know where you're going, but, well...
Of course, with everything being so deadly, especially early on, there's a genuine sense of danger when exploring, because you never know whether you're about to find a treasure, a shortcut, or another Easter egg. At this location on the map, you can find a skeleton sweeping the stairs, which isn't an Easter egg, but it is pretty strange. Anyway, if you follow the route that I take, you can find this. So hidden under the stairs is a reference to Harry Potter. You see, this room is found under the stairs, just like Harry's bedroom at the Dursleys, and the skeleton is wearing glasses whilst holding a wand. To really hammer the reference home, there's even a birdcage in the room for Hedwig, Harry's trusty pet owl. Now, so far, I've only managed to find 2 different factions, but it seems that you can align yourself with pretty much whoever you like, though there will be consequences. You see, player freedom is a big thing in Gothic, and it's because of that freedom that you can actually fail quests, something that I learned very early on, much to my surprise. Each NPC will react to your standing within other communities, and something that I thought was brilliant was an interaction that I had at the swamp camp. Now, I was told that the more senior swamp people don't like talking to nobodies like me. But it was one of those moments where I heard what was said but didn't really process it. So when I approached a swamp elder for a quick chat, I was shocked when they didn't speak to me, no matter what I said.
Your head is quite shiny today.
Oh, and by the way, the game is full of dialogue choices like that, so I can't wait to see what new and creative ways I can come up with to insult bald people. So yeah, I came into Gothic expecting to understand why fans loved it. I left understanding why fans loved it, and with a lifelong fear of juvenile scavengers. If you want to check out Gothic for yourself, make sure you use the link in the description or in my pinned comment. Clicking the link supports the channel, so it's a win-win. Once again, a huge thank you to THQ Nordic for sponsoring this video, and of course we should all pour one out for Mud, who sadly didn't make it to the end of this video. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and I'll speak to you all later.